So today I'm in Siem Reap, Cambodia, the land of ancient temples, $1 beers, and massages that may or may not change your life. But how cheap are we talking? Eat like a king cheap? Or accidentally order a second dinner because it costs less than your coffee back home cheap? Well, that's the purpose of today's video. I'll be breaking down the real cost of living here in Siem Reap, Cambodia. So if you've ever thought about moving here, or just visiting here, or maybe even you just want to flex on your friends with how far your dollars can go, then stick around to see how much it really costs to live your best life here. So let's start with the rent, since this is normally the part of adult life that usually hurts the soul. But in Siem Reap, it's less of financial trauma and more of a, wait, is this a typo? Because, for example, I pay $250 a month for a modern one-bed apartment with air conditioning, fans, and all the kitchen equipment you need. There's also a rooftop pool that I'm still yet to see anybody else use, and there's also a cafe and a shop downstairs. So I think it's a pretty good deal. Plus, this does also include Wi-Fi, so I get that for free, and that does seem to be a standard here, from what I've seen and also heard about online as well. So there's absolutely good deals to be made here, but yes, as for my rent, that's what I pay, and that's what I get from it. And actually the water bill here for this place is a fixed rate of $5 a month, so I guess you could say for $255, that's my rent, Wi-Fi and water bill total, which again, is pretty decent. I mean, it's quite a bit cheaper than my previous place back in Thailand anyway. But that water doesn't include my drinking water, because the tap water in Siem Reap is more for showering and maybe brushing your teeth. If you're feeling brave, that is. Because the locals don't drink it, the expats don't drink it, and your stomach definitely doesn't want you to drink it. So you'll quickly become best friends with those big blue water jugs. You know, the ones that make you feel like you're in an office break room. Yeah, those are the ones. And here they cost me 75 cents to get refilled, and I get that from the shop downstairs below my apartment, so I don't have to carry them too far. And I go through about 2 of these bad boys a week. So that's an extra $6 a month on average, I'd say. And pro tip, you will at some point forget and brush your teeth with tap water, you'll then pause, you'll reflect, and you'll wait to see if your life flashes before your eyes. And spoiler, it won't? Well, probably won't anyway. Now on to electricity. Because in Siem Reap this is less of a utility and more of a relationship, but more specifically, a toxic relationship, with the air conditioning that is. Because electricity here is not crazy expensive until you discover the aircon remote. That's when things can escalate very quickly. One minute you're like, I'll just cool the room down a little, and the next thing you know, you're living in an Antarctic research centre. And your actual bill itself, it's watching, silently, and waiting. Because it's always creeping up. And I actually have a meter on the wall inside my room, so I see that number climb every day. And I was absolutely humbled when I got my first electric bill here. Because at my last place in Thailand, they must have been adding up wrong, or I had the best deal known to man. Because now I've been humbled, I'm paying what is a more normal price for electricity out here, at roughly $50 a month. And I do use mostly the fans every day and the AC almost every night, at least until the room is cool enough anyway. But if I had my AC on 24/7, I imagine that bill would be even higher. But so far $50 a month seems to cover my everyday life anyway. So yeah, electricity in Siem Reap is affordable, as long as you and your aircon learn to set boundaries. Now on to food. Because I could eat out every meal if I wanted to, the street food here is not only super nice and tasty, it's also stupidly cheap. But I actually go macro here for my food shopping, so I end up cooking most of my meals here. So I'm adding that in my bi-weekly macro trips, the eating out I do for at least one meal every day, and also my occasional takeaways on top of that too. Which all in all, still only comes to about $200 a month. Plus I make sure to eat enough protein every day, so those days I actually end up falling short, I normally end up ordering an extra meal in the evening. Or I go out and grab something extra, but I've included in all of that. So if you don't go gym and eat those extra meals, your food bill will probably be even less than that. I mean, for example, there's a cafe next door to my place where I go and get a really nice meal for $1.25. So that has quickly become one of my favourite post-gym meals, especially if I don't feel like cooking right after, which is becoming most days, I can't lie. And for that price and the taste, I can't not really get it. And this budget also includes the real MVP in fruit smoothies, which have become a real addiction since I've got here. I mean, the mango smoothies here are so good. Again, it's hard not to get them as well. So yes, the food in Siem Reap is cheap, delicious, and slightly dangerous to your self-control. But now let's talk about getting around, because in Siem Reap, transport is less of a structured system and more of a vibes and eye contact sort of thing. The main transport options are tuk-tuks. These are your new best friends, cheap everywhere and honestly kind of iconic. You don't even really find a tuk-tuk, it finds you. You make brief eye contact with a driver and suddenly you're negotiating a ride, unless you just use the Grab app, which honestly I do most of the time anyway, it's just easier and it has a set price ready for you. And although I like walking everywhere, the heat does make it so getting a tuk-tuk now and again is completely worth it. Plus it's only $1 to get from my apartment to the gym near me, so some days I might do that. And if I'm going into the town centre for example, that again is $1 to $1.50. So on average I'd say $25 a month covers all of my transport trips. But luckily I do like walking mostly anyway, it's just a good option for me to have. if I've had enough of the heat for example. Now onto phone data. Because that is only $10 a month here I pay, which is mostly there as a backup in case my Wi-Fi isn't working, which does happen now and again here in Cambodia. But because my gym, the cafe I go to, and pretty much anywhere I go does have Wi-Fi, so the data isn't 100% necessary, but it's a good backup to have really, especially when the random power outages happens, the Wi-Fi disappears for a few minutes. It's nice to not have to sit there in complete silence until everything comes back online, if you're in the middle of using the internet that is. Now onto the gym. The gym I go to I pay $25 a month, and the only thing it's lacking is air conditioning, because it's just fans there and nothing tests your commitment to fitness like tropical heat without air conditioning, trust me. But it's the closest gym to me and it has all the equipment I'm after, and some machines that I rarely even see at even some of the premium gyms I've been to in the past. The workout equipment is top tier, but I'll say this, working out here hits different. You're mid-set, drenched in sweat, questioning your choices, while a gecko watches you from the wall like they're your personal trainer. But there's a weird upside. You feel like an absolute warrior. Survive a workout in Siem Reap heat and suddenly every gym back home feels like a luxury spa. So yeah, gyms in Siem Reap are affordable, slightly chaotic, and guaranteed to humble you. But you'll get fit, or at the very least very, very sweaty. And don't worry, if you absolutely need the air conditioning, there are gyms here that have them, but they just seem to be absent from the one I go to anyway, which is fun, I guess you could say. And now onto haircuts, because they cost me $4 a month, and that's for a haircut every 2 weeks. I go to a local barber near my apartment and he charges me $2 per haircut, which is definitely the cheapest haircuts I've ever gotten. So I could even get the fresh fade every week, but every 2 weeks is good enough for me. But I'm also sure if I went more into the town centre then the haircuts might be a bit more pricier, but for me that's how much it costs. And a lot of the barbers here are actually really good. For the price of $2, that'll surprise you, I know. They're very efficient and no nonsense, you're in and out in less than 15 minutes, feeling like a completely new person. Or at least a slightly different looking one anyway. Alright, now we enter the most dangerous category, which is miscellaneous spending. Also known as, it's only $2, but then that exact same saying is repeated 27 times, which will end up adding up. Because this is where Siem Reap can really get you. It's not with the big expenses, but with the tiny, harmless looking purchases that slowly assemble into a financial plot twist. In this category I'm including laundry, which is cheap, like $1 to $2 per kilo, where you hand over a bag of chaos and it comes back folded like a gift from the most organised version of yourself. As well as any other miscellaneous items like mosquito spray, ant spray, toiletries, household stuff, and anything else I end up maybe buying every month or even every couple months. And I put all of that down to around $25 on average per month. Because I'm not buying everything every month, and sometimes I might not even buy much at all, apart from getting my laundry done. So as for a total cost of living, everything I've listed so far in rent, Wi-Fi, water, drinking water, electricity, food, transport, mobile data, gym, haircuts and any miscellaneous items, comes up to $600 every month. But bear in mind that doesn't include any fun money, this is strictly the cost of living. But if I wanted to go on more tuk-tuk tours and see some temples nearby, or even see some waterfalls, then that cost would be more. Or even if I wanted to do any more tourist activities or get regular massages or anything you label as fun, then you'll have to add that onto that number. Plus again, bear in mind I don't really drink, but if I did, I could become an alcoholic here easily on little to nothing, because the beer here is stupidly cheap at less than $1 per can. And with the chance to win a free beer or even discounts with every can purchase, which you will win more times than not because it's super generous. So I mean, even if I add on an extra $100 to $150 a month onto the already $600 total as the fun money category, then my cost of living would still only be $700 to $750, which is honestly still insanely cheap in my opinion for the life you can live here. But you can add whatever fun money budget you think you'll need, because I know everyone is different and has different ideas of what fun might be. But you can do a lot here in Siem Reap for fun. That doesn't really cost much, even more so if your idea of fun involves cheap beer and free sunsets. But I'm sure, in fact I know, you can quickly add up costs if you are into other things, especially if you're in the tourist hotspots and doing anything on Pub Street every day, or every night I should say really. So feel free to have your own idea of how much you need to cover your fun money budget, but for the actual cost of living here, life is pretty cheap, and the quality you get is quite high for the price anyway. At least in my opinion. So hopefully this has given you a better understanding of what the cost of living here is in Siem Reap, Cambodia in 2026, and the actual survival cost of living. And the actual survival cost of living, as I said, is $600 a month, but that is just for surviving, because if I wanted to go to any fancy or western restaurants more regularly, or as I said again, do any tourist activities and venture further outside Siem Reap the city, then the cost of all of that would need to be added on to that number, obviously. But that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.